What's up guys, Eli here, back for another new stuff video. Mixing it up a little bit today. We're going to be talking strictly power metal. Stack of power metal releases I've picked up at some local record stores over the last month or so. I'd say this is a little out of the ordinary because I don't talk about too much power metal on this channel. But, power metal is a genre of metal that I do love. It's not something I go back to constantly, but when I want to hear power metal, it's like the only thing that scratches that itch. And I've been into this kind of music for a long, long time. I was into power metal stuff, before I got into black metal and all that. So this should be fun. We're going to do a power metal video today. My next one will probably be thrash, and then I'll probably do some traditional heavy metal. So look forward to that in the next couple of weeks. I got some gems and some old classics that I picked up, which I'm pretty stoked on. So let's get started. So these first couple of bands we're going to talk about are going to be German power metal bands. Obviously, Germany, the country of Germany, is no stranger to the genre of power metal. It is, largely, debatably the country that either started it or made it popular, probably both. So we're starting out with Rage from Germany, like I said. This is a 1995 album. So Rage are one of the more legendary German power metal bands. They formed in 1986, so they kind of started maybe just a tad late, not super late, but a little later than Halloween and, Gravedigger and stuff like that. So 8th album from 1995, Black in Mind. This is a 2006 re-release. Gun Records, which was a German label owned by Sony, if I remember correctly. Pretty sure Sony owned it. So this was the first Rage album to feature guitarist, Greek guitarist Spiros Ephthymiadis. Sorry, some Greek names are tough. And also Sven Fischer, a German guitarist. So first album to feature those two guitarists, and it's good. Now, I'm not like super well versed in Rage. I've heard some of their earlier stuff. A lot of that's considered classic to this day. They were on Noise Records back in the day. But from what I can tell, this is pretty damn good. This is your power metal, your more street tough power metal, I like to call it. It's not like uber melodic. It's not like super double bassy and fast. This is just more traditional power metal. The kind of power metal that fans of more traditional heavy metal could probably get into a little easier than some of the other bands. Then we got a couple of releases from Gravedigger. Now, Gravedigger, they've been active since 1980, so they're very legendary at this point. As far as I know, they've never taken a break or gone on a hiatus of any sort. I could be wrong about that, but if they have, it was not a long break. So we're starting with their 8th album, Excalibur. This came out in 1989. I love this album a lot. I'm pretty new to it. This came out also on Gun Records. Now, Gravedigger, kind of like Rage, are another one of those bands. They don't really fall under that, the type of power metal that you would associate with like Halloween and Gamma Ray and stuff like that. They're more, they started off, first of all, they started off as more of a traditional speed metal band. So they've always kind of had those roots, if you ask me, and they're yet another one of those power metal bands that, even if you don't like Halloween and Gamma Ray, if you're more of an Iron Maiden fan, Judas Priest, you could get into Gravedigger, I think. Then I got their 9th album titled The Gravedigger from 2001. This is the first album to feature guitarist Manny Schmidt. This time Nuclear Blast Records. Really, really good album. Check it out. Next band I'm going to be talking about is a favorite of mine. In my opinion, maybe the most underrated German power metal band, because I never see people talk about them. At least from the people that I know, I just don't see this band mentioned. So we're talking about Metallium. They've been active since '98, so they were a little late on the scene. They did take a break in 2021. They did split up. I think it's because one of the members died. I'm pretty sure that was the reason. But a year or two later, they came back, and they've been active ever since. So this is their debut titled Millennium Metal Chapter 1. It's a very good album. Now, just like Gravedigger, Metallium are another one of those power metal bands that I definitely think they fall under the power metal, category. But if you're just a fan of traditional heavy metal or speed metal, I think you also can get into them. So this was the only album to feature Sabotage guitarist Chris Caffrey. I don't know the story about how he joined, but he did, and it's awesome. This is also the only album to feature drummer Mike Tirana. And one of my favorite things about Metallium is, of course, their singer, Henning Bass. One of the best singers out there, in my opinion, in heavy metal or power metal. He's just awesome. He played on a Firewind album, and he's done some other stuff too, but he's just phenomenal. Then from 2005, I have their fifth album, Demons of Insanity. This one I have not heard. I've been after it for a while. This came out on Crash Music, by the way. The last album came out on Pavement Records. So they spent the earlier part of their career, I think that's why they didn't take off, because they just weren't on very good record labels. I don't know, their last few releases, I don't know who put those out. I'm going to have to look into that. But I think it was probably a little bit better of a label. Then we've got 3 releases from U.S. power metal band, power metal legends, Jag Panzer out of Colorado. They've been active since 1981. We're going to start with 4th album from 1998, The Age of Mastery. Jag Panzer this came out on Century Media, by the way. Jag Panzer are kind of well known for having a legendary vocalist, Harry the Tyrant Conklin, among their ranks. He's gone on to do other stuff with a few other bands, and he's just one of the more charismatic heavy metal vocalists, as well as very talented. Then from 2000, I have their 5th album, Thane to the Throne, probably one of my personal favorites. Also, Century Media Records. Fantastic album. And from 2001, we have their 6th album, Mechanized Warfare. Again, Century Media Records. Century Media put out most of their stuff. They did not start on Century Media, but they have been on that label for, God, a good long time. I want to say to this day they're signed to Century Media. I could be wrong. Then from France, you don't hear a lot of power metal from France, but we have Nightmare, long-running power metal band out of France, active since 1979. They did have a break from 88 to 99, but this is their 7th album from 2009. Only album to feature guitarist J.C. Lefevre. So since they started so early on, yeah, as you could probably guess, they were a traditional heavy metal band. And they are, again, one of those power metal bands that really, I think they fall, at least their earlier stuff to even mid-era, they lean more towards the traditional heavy metal side. But the power metal tag, it works. I think they kind of straddle the line. But, they're legends. They've been around, again, since 79. They have a ton of albums, and I definitely recommend them. I think they're a bit underrated. I think some of their late 90s, early 2000s stuff is super strong. I have not heard anything they've done recently, but yeah, that 2000s stuff, back when they had in case you don't know, there was kind of a revival in power metal in late 90s to early 2000s. You had all these new bands coming out that were really, really strong, and then you had some of the older bands coming back and putting out strong music. I think the late 90s, early 2000s, for power metal and even some traditional heavy metals, kind of an underrated era. They were kind of bouncing back. Mid 90s was kind of a cesspool for heavy metal, And late 90s wasn't a whole lot different, but things were coming back in a big way. And when you look back on it, I think you could dig up a great number of really, really good like power metal albums from, like maybe a 4 or 5 year period, late 90s, early 2000s. There was just this cool resurgence that if you don't know about it, you might want to look into it. Then we're going to travel over to Finland with Sonata Arctica. They've been active since 1999, a little late in the game. This is a live album, came out in 2006. It was recorded in Japan. This has a bonus, well, not a bonus, but it's got a live DVD to go along with the CD, so that's very cool. Sonata Arctica, they do kind of fall, they're very power metal. They do kind of lean in that more kind of Halloween type power metal, but even more melodic. I mean, they're just super melodic. It's the kind of power metal that a lot of people are going to, if they're not into it, they're going to call it cheesy, and I do get that. So let's just say the more cheesy side of power metal, but a lot of fun, and they're great musicians. They're great songwriters. I may not have heard all their stuff, but their earlier stuff I think is actually really, really good Finnish power metal. And then we've got Stratovarius, power metal legends. These guys started early on too, 1985. Bands that started, as early as this, they kind of predated what we would know as power metal that Halloween would kind of define a couple years later. So Stratovarius are one of the earlier bands playing, like a traditional power metal, in my opinion. This is their 13th self-titled album from 2005. I've given this a little bit of attention so far. Came out on Metal Export Music. God, I'm not familiar with that label at all. Interesting. Anyways, I've given it a little bit of attention, and this is not, I don't think, one of the stronger Stratovarius releases, because some of their stuff I think is really great. This is more streamlined, almost more mainstream sounding. It's almost like they were trying to intentionally streamline their music. I mean, a lot of bands have dabbled in stuff like that. If you ask me, they've bounced back because they have albums that came out after this that were really good. So, not one of the finer Stratovarius albums. I picked it up for a couple of bucks just out of curiosity. And last one today from Sweden, we've got the debut album from Saint Demon. You're probably thinking the same thing I am. Not the coolest band title, no offense to the guys. They've been active only since 2006, and this is the 2008 debut, like I said, titled In Shadows Lost from the Brave. Now, this is a band that just kind of crossed my radar recently. Came out on Frontiers Records, by the way. I've not really been aware of them until recently, but I'm pretty impressed. Just good, good melodic, fast, traditional kind of power metal. I think it's just really good. They have a new album out. I think they came out this year, not long ago. Might have been last year. I think it's this year, though. If you're a power metal fan, you like the more, the more Halloween style power metal. I think Saint Demon are well worth your time. So. Anyways, do I have many power metal fans out there? I'm not real sure. Again, it's not a type of music that I talk about here often, but it is a type of music that I do love, and lately I've just been in the mood for it. So, you a fan of any of these bands? I know Jagdpanzer are pretty popular. Gravedigger, Rage. I'd really like to get more Rage albums. My collection is sorely lacking with Rage releases. So, talk to me about power metal. Tell me how your day is going. I hope you're all doing well. Like I said, the next few new stuff videos, you can look forward to a really nice black metal update, some classic thrash metal, and then some good old traditional heavy metal. I got some cool stuff to show, so look forward to that within the next week or two. Anyways, as always, thanks for stopping by, guys. Cheers.